Good day, everyone. I am Claire Anne Marie Alagao, and in our group, we will be discussing about the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. So, what is IDEA? IDEA is a nation's special education law in which it helps children with disability to be legally in school, and it was first passed in the year 1975. This act was previously known as the Education for All Handicapped Children Act. If you know that your child needs special education services, you as a parent or guardian needs to follow a legal process, and this process involves several laws. And the idea is the most important one to understand. As the nation's special education law, IDEA provides rights and protection to children with disabilities, and as well as to the parents or guardians. And knowing the rights under this act can make it easier for your child to get help with his or her needs at school, and he or she will be legally entitled to be at school. So what is the goal or the purpose of this law, or why is it being enacted or made? So the reason or the purpose of this is to provide a free, appropriate public education to children with disabilities. So the schools are required to find and evaluate students suspected with or having disabilities at no cost to families. So this is called the child find. So what is child find? Child find is a legal requirement that schools find children who have disabilities and who may be entitled to special education services. If a child is qualified for having disability, the schools must provide them with special education and related services to meet their unique needs. And the goal of this is to help students to make progress in school. This is a good idea to help those children with disability to be in school and to learn like a normal child. The next purpose of this act is to give parents or legal guardians a voice in their child's education. As a parent or guardian, you have your opinion or decisions about your child in school. At every point of the process, the law gives you the specific rights and protections, and these are called procedural safeguards. This is the protection during the evaluation of the IEP, or the Individualized Education Program. One example of this is that the school must get your consent before providing services to your child. So, as a parent, you have the rights to make a decision for your child. Because as a parent, they know the ability or the capabilities of their child. Therefore, they have the decision on what their child can do in school.
Hi everyone, my name is Shirley Umage and I am tasked to discuss the 13 categories of IDEA. There are 13 disability categories under IDEA. So, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, requires a public school to provide special education and related services to eligible students. But not every child who struggles in school qualifies. To be covered, a child's school performance must be adversely affected by a disability in one of the 13 categories below. So first, we have the specific learning disability, or what we call SLD. The umbrella term SLD covers a specific group of learning challenges. These conditions affect a child's ability to read, write, listen, speak, reason, or do math. Here's what could fall in this category. For example, first we have dyslexia. Dyslexia. Dyslexia is a learning disability in reading. People with dyslexia have trouble reading at a good pace and without mistakes. They may also have a hard time with reading comprehension, spelling, and writing. Second, the dysgraphia. This term refers to challenges in the skills needed to produce writing. That includes handwriting, typing, and spelling. Third, we have dyscalculia. Dyscalculia is a learning disability in math. People with dyscalculia have trouble with math at many levels. They often struggle with key concepts like bigger versus smaller, and they can have a hard time doing basic math problems and more abstract math. Fourth, we have the auditory processing disorder. APD, or the auditory processing disorder, refers to challenges in how the brain understands speech. The sounds may be loud and clear, but people with APD don't pick up on the subtle differences between them. Let's say, for example, people with APD may not recognize the difference between cat, that, and bat. Words can get also scrambled, so the questions, how are the chair and cough alike? How are the chair and couch alike? Might sound like how a cow and hare are like. Lastly, under SLD, we have the nonverbal learning disability. Many people think of learning disabilities as issues with verbal skills such as reading or writing. But what if your child has strong verbal skills and a big vocabulary but doesn't understand when somebody is being sarcastic? What if he reads at an advanced level but can't tell you the most important parts of the story? These are the classic signs of nonverbal learning disabilities, or NVLD. NVLD is a brain based condition that affects skills like abstract thinking and spatial relationships. While NVLD can affect your child's learning in many ways, it creates an even bigger challenge when it comes to your child's social life. SLD is the most common category under IDEA. In 2018, 30% of students who qualified did so under this category. Second, we have the other health impairment under 30, that's the second for 13 disability categories under IDA. So that's other health impairment. So the umbrella term other health impairment covers conditions that limit a child's strength, energy, or alertness. One example is ADHD, which impacts the attention and executive function. So, ADHD is a common condition that makes it hard to focus, keep still, and think before acting. Some people with ADHD mainly have trouble with focus, or this is also known as ADD. ADHD can also impact other skills, including managing emotions. ADHD is a common condition that caused by differences in the brain. People with ADHD have trouble with focus, but some are also hyperactive and impulsive. That's especially true with kids and teens. So let's proceed with third category of IDEA, which is autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. ASD is a developmental disability. It covers a wide range of symptoms, but it mainly affects a child's social and communication skills. It can also impact behavior. So when kids struggle in school or in life, their challenges don't always fit into a net box. One example of this is autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. Kids with autism can struggle in many ways. They may have trouble with social interaction, sensory processing, and communication, among other things. But they aren't the only kids with these kinds of challenges. Many, many kids who learn and think differently also have these difficulties. Autism often co occurs with other conditions like ADHD and learning disabilities. Fourth, for the categories under IDEA, so which is emotional disturbance. Various mental health issues can fall under the emotional disturbance. category. They may include anxiety disorder, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and depression. Fifth category is speech or language impairment. This category covers difficulties with speech or language. A common example is stuttering. Other examples are trouble pronouncing words or making sounds with the voice. It also covers language problems that make it hard for kids to understand words or express themselves. A speech disorder or impairment usually means a child has difficulty producing certain sounds, while language based learning disabilities are very different from speech impairments because LBLD refers to a whole spectrum of difficulties associated with young children's understanding and use of spoken and written language. Sixth category is visual impairment, including blindness. So, when we say visual impairment, including blindness, a child who has eyesight problems is considered to have a visual impairment. This category includes both partial sight and blindness. If eyewear can correct a vision problem, then it doesn't qualify. Seventh, which is deafness. Kids with a diagnosis of deafness fall under this category. These are kids who can't hear most or all sounds even with a hearing aid. Eighth, which is hearing impairment. The term hearing impairment refers to a hearing loss not covered by the definition of deafness. This type of loss can change over time, being hard of hearing is not the same thing as having trouble with auditory or language processing. So let's differentiate what is hearing impairment from deafness. So when we say hearing impairment, it actually covers a spectrum from mild to profound, but deafness is this profound hearing loss, which indicates a complete loss of hearing ability in one or both ears. Ninth category, which is deaf blindness. Kids with a diagnosis of deaf blindness have both severe hearing and vision loss. Their communication and other needs are so unique that programs for just the deaf or blind can't meet them. The most common genetic cause of deaf blindness is Usher syndrome. Individuals with Usher experience hearing loss and have a progressive visual condition called retinitis pigmentosa or RP, which may first manifest itself as difficulty seeing at night or in poorly lit environments. 10th, we have the orthopedic impairment. An orthopedic impairment is when kids lack ability in their bodies. An example is cerebral palsy. So we have tackled the previous lesson that we have when we watch a short video clip, the inclusion, which Sarah was associated, the tools that she uses, which is wheelchair, that helps her go on with her life to do things what she loved. So let's proceed with 11th category, which is intellectual disability. Kids with this type of disability have below average intellectual ability. They may also have poor communication, self-care, and social skills. Down syndrome is one example of an intellectual disability. Down syndrome is a genetic disorder caused when abnormal cell division results in an extra full or partial copy of chromosomes. Going back, this limitation can cause a child to develop and learn more slowly or differently than a typically developing child. 12th, we have traumatic brain injury. This is a brain injury caused by an accident or some kind of physical force. Common causes include car or motorcycle crashes, falls, sports injuries, and assaults. Injuries can range from mild concussions to severe permanent brain damage. Lastly, which is the multiple disabilities. A child with multiple disabilities has more than one condition covered by IDEA. Having multiple issues creates educational needs that can't be met in a program designed for any one disability. These multiple disabilities are the above mentioned disabilities that we have tackled earlier.
Having those different disabilities doesn't mean that the child can automatically permitted or entitled to be part of the special education services. For instance, if a child is doing well in school, the child will not be covered by IDEA or the law, even though he has the disabilities. Sometimes, parents and the school have disagreements about that situation. And when that happens, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act provides several options or ways in resolving an IEP dispute. So the first option is negotiation. So the parent or guardian, the child, the special education teachers, and the school will be part of the IEP team or the Individualized Education Program team, wherein they will discuss about the child's education. Like, for example, we have this scenario that the child's IEP requires an hour of speech therapy a week, but the parents noticed that the school has skipped several weeks of therapy. So the parent can call the IEP team for a meeting to discuss about how to fix the situation. And that is an example of negotiation. The next option in resolving dispute is mediation. So what is mediation? Mediation is a private meeting where the parents and the school try to reach an agreement with the help of a neutral third party to work out for a solution. Mediator is the name implied to the third party, and the mediator should have a professional training and is impartial to either of the sides. The mediator will help on finding ways or solution that works for the school and to everyone. So the decisions are legally binding. So that's the mediation. The option number 3 is the due process hearing. This is a formal way to resolve dispute under the law. The parents or guardian will file a complaint in which it is a written document that spells out all the dispute or disagreement of the parents with the school. The complaint must state a violation of the said law. The parents can write there that the school isn't providing appropriate services for the child. So the next option, or the option number 4, is the lawsuit. So if the parents don't win the due process hearing, they have the option of filing lawsuit in a state or federal court within 90 days. And this is a very serious legal option that requires a lawyer. They can only file a civil lawsuit after they've gone the due process. So that's the lawsuit. And now let's proceed to the option number 5. Option number 5 is the state complaint. So in addition with the options above, the parents can also file a state complaint about the school's violation of the law. They have to file within 1 year of the violation. The complaint is a letter to the State Department of Education asking for an investigation. The organizations and groups of parents can also file a state complaints. Like for example, they can get together with other parents and file a state complaint if they see a situation at school that affects more than just their child. If the complaint is already filed, the state can now start the investigation and decision if the school violated the law. So the states have their own rules on how these complaints are being handled. So that's the option number 5. And the last option, or the option number 6, is the Office for Civil Rights Complaint. This is another federal law, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, that also protects students with IEPs from discrimination. So this section 504 gives the parents more options. And the most important is a complaint to the Office for Civil Rights, or the OCR of the U.S. Department of Education. An OCR, or the Office for Civil Rights complaint, has to be filed within 180 days of the school's violation, just like with the state complaint. An OCR complaint may lead to an investigation of the school. The same with the option number 5, they will still investigate the school if they violated the law. And that's the option number 6. Knowing those different options for dispute resolution is important to effectively advocate those children with disabilities.
Good day, everyone. I am Sanderos A. Kabusa, and I am going to tackle about the denied of services. Your child was evaluated and the school denied special education services. The decision may be upsetting, but now it's time to look forward. How can you get the help your child needs? What are your options? So here are 10 steps you can possibly take. First, understand the school's reasons. If the school denies services to your child, it must explain its decision in writing. The school should provide you with a copy of the evaluation report at no cost. The school must also give you information on how to challenge its decision. And then carefully read the school's explanation. If you don't understand the school's reasons, you have the legal right to an explanation. This can be as simple as a phone call to the school, or for a more in-depth explanation, request an in-person meeting with school personnel. Second, contact a Parent Training and Information Center, or PTI. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act requires that each state have a Parent Training and Information Center. Its purpose is to give parents the skills and information they need to work with schools that provide special education services. The center may have a library, support groups, and other resources. The center's staff may be able to answer specific questions about your state's special education rules. Third, talk to an education advocate. An education advocate helps parents navigate the school system. The evaluation process for children who have learning and thinking differences is complicated. It can also vary from school to school. An advocate can help you understand your options and even help you negotiate a solution with the school. Advocates are generally paid, but some provide free services to low-income families. The fourth one, consider a 504 plan. If your child is not eligible for services under Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, check whether support is available under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. A 504 plan can help your child manage learning and thinking differences with accommodations such as extra time on test or assistive technology. Sometimes the school may actually suggest a 504 plan. Fifth, ask about extra help for your child. The school may have programs for struggling students who don't qualify for an IEP or individualized education plan or a 504 plan. These programs can include one-on-one tutoring, peer mentoring, and special help, such as a reading specialist who helps a child with phonics. Be sure to ask what extra help your school offers students who are struggling. Children with an IEP or 504 plan also can be eligible for tutoring and mentoring help. 6. Get help outside of school. These days, many businesses and other groups
provide out of school programs for children who are struggling in school. Look up local learning centers in your area. Ask other parents about their experiences. Consider whether it makes sense to use a personal tutor for your child. In most cases, you have to pay for these services. Seventh, explore an independent educational evaluation or IEE. If you disagree with the school's evaluation, you may want to explore this option. An IEE is conducted by an outside professional, someone not employed by the school. This can be useful if you want to challenge the school's denial of services. Generally, parents must pay for an IEE. Parents can request that the school cover the cost, but the school may not agree. If the school's evaluation was flawed or incomplete, a job process hearing can result in the school being required to pay. 8. Ask for mediation. One way to try to get the school to change its decision is to ask for mediation. A mediator is a neutral professional who works with parents and the school to find a solution. The mediator will usually meet with the parents and the school at the school offices and work to bring the two sides to an agreement. Step 9. Consider filing a due process complaint. Another way to challenge the school's decision is through a due process complaint and hearing. This is a semi-formal proceeding where you and the school present evidence to an impartial hearing officer who decides if your child is eligible for services. A related option is a state complaint. This would be in the form of a letter to the agency in charge of education in your state. Both due process and state complaints are serious and complicated legal processes. You may want to discuss these options with a lawyer first. Learn more about other ways to resolve disputes with your child's school. The last step, plan for a new evaluation. Whether you've tried steps 1 to 9 or have gone a different route, you may want to start creating a paper trail for your child's next evaluation. With more time and evidence, the school may agree your child needs special education and related services. Prepare now, save tests and papers that show your child's difficulties. Save emails between you and teachers that document your child's struggles. Next school year, you may be in a better position to request a new evaluation. 504 plans often include accommodations. This can include changes to the environment, like taking tests in a quiet space, changes to instruction, like checking in frequently on key concepts, changes to how curriculum is presented, like getting outlines of lessons. Accommodations don't change what kids learn, just how they learn it. The goal is to remove barriers and give kids access to learning.
So, how to get services under IDEA? So you can request an evaluation at any time. And if the school thinks a child might have a disability, it must conduct an evaluation. So the evaluation not only determined if a student has a disability, it also sheds light to what services and support that students might need. And there are a lot of evaluation that will help a child or a student depending on his or her age and difficulties. So preparing an evaluation. So what when we say evaluation, what is it? So it is referred to as an educational evaluation, educational assessment, or a school evaluation. So i-evaluate ang student or ang child. So so in preparing an evaluation para sa anak, so obviously involved na dira ang parents, right? So dara ang first nga kuan, the school evaluation process. So unsa man ni siya? So here it is the understanding the process helps you or sa parents and her child to be prepared for an evaluation. Both of you can feel more relaxed and confident knowing what to expect. If your child is having more than one type of evaluation, do your best to get familiar with how each evaluation will work. So, mao na ang the school evaluation process. So, man naman ta sa the school evaluation process. So, let us also know the evaluation team. So, naa sa the evaluation team. So, the school psychologist may be the person who does the actual testing. But there will be others working as a team throughout your child's evaluation process. So, this could be, for example, the administrator or the principal of the school, the general education teachers, or the special education teacher, or parents or guardians, and school psychologists or specialists nga naghandle sa evaluation sa usa ka disabled nga bata. So that's the evaluation team. So the third one is the prepare for a private evaluation. So evaluate into a private way ang child. So when your child is evaluated by an outside professional for ADHD or the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or learning differences, you choose who that person will be. So, di ba, kung kung ipa-evaluate ang bata or ang disabled is, mamili ta kung kinsay mo evaluate. So, often, it's a child psychologist or neuropsychologist. Whoever you hire to evaluate your child, be sure to ask what you can expect from the process or unsa may kanang dapat kaybaw na ka kung unsay kanang inigahuman sa evaluation, so unsa may mahitabo ana na ba, so dapat kaybaw ka or kaila ka sa katong imong gi-hire. So when evaluating a child, if na ba siya disability or what, so 9 types of tests nga buhaton para ma-assure or kaybaw kung unsa gyud ang disability ani niya or unsay weakness ani nga child. So, what does the actual testing involve? So, there are many types of tests that look for strengths and challenges in different areas. Full evaluation should look at all of those areas, not just the ones where your child seems to be struggling. So, dapat tanan, dili lang kay example, di siya kabasa. So, naa say test nga para may bawaan kung unsa pag yun ang kuwang or kanang lahi ba. So, for example, you and the school may suspect your child has dyslexia or dyslexia or kana maglisod ganig basa or bali lang pagkabasa ba. But the evaluation should look at more than just reading skills. A full evaluation would include tests that look at your child's math skills, writing skills, and other aspects of learning. So, na mga daghang test, like for example, test for dyslexia, test for dysgraphia, or basta daghan pag siya test para may bawaan kung unsa or asa nay difficulty ang usa ka bata. So, next is your rights in the evaluation process. So, understanding your legal rights during the evaluation process can help you get the services your child needs. So, as a parent, you have the right to request an evaluation at any time, di ba? So, here are some kanang rights. So you have the right to be free from discrimination because kay nana lagi. So naa mo yung right to be free from discrimination or the right to be a member of the team or the IEP team and the right to special education services because there are 13 disabilities listed in IDEA. If your child has one or more of these disabilities and needs special education and related services, the school must provide those services. So those are some rights in the evaluation process of your child. So next is Individualized Education Program or the IEP. So unsa man ning IEP? This is a plan or program developed to ensure that a child with an identified disability who is attending an elementary or secondary educational institution receives a specialized instruction and related services. So your child needs an IAP to get special education services at school, and parents or you as a parents play a key role throughout the IAP process. And it is important to stay on top of your child's IAP and make sure your child is making progress. It is important to understand the IAP process because the process of getting an IAP for your child can be confusing. So it is important to know what happens and when. The first step is having an evaluation for special education. Then the school must decide whether your child qualifies for the services and support of the IEP. Next is knowing what's in an IAP. So, unsa may nasa IAP? So, the information in an IAP can give you a deeper understanding of your child's strengths and challenges. And it should lay out exactly how the school plans to help your child improve and build skills that will help him grow as a person. Even if kanang na siya disability or he or she needs to undergo special education. Navigating IAP meetings. So your child's special education program kicks off with an IAP meeting. The entire IAP team will be there. You may also hear from professionals at school who were part of the evaluation process, and some might provide services or support for your child. And that's just the first of many IAP meetings you likely will attend over the course of your child's school years. IAP meetings can be stressful for some parents. Knowing what happens at IAP meetings can make it easier to navigate them. Staying on top of your child's IAP. So your IAP journey doesn't end now that your child has a plan for special education services. In fact, the actual work of the IAP is only just start. The parents play a key role in making sure the plan is working and the child is making progress. Parents will still be their child's number one advocate throughout the school years and beyond. So that's all, guys. Thank you.
Moving on, let's talk about the role of parents and caregivers. Among supportive groups that promote the welfare of your child, you as a parent is the child's most important advocate. Here we have 8 steps to advocate for your child at school. First, understand what to advocate means. To advocate does not necessarily mean that you have to be loud and confident. All it requires is for you to speak. Second, know it's okay to speak up. Learn to speak up if you're worried about a certain thing that concerns your child. The aim here is to make your child a better person. Learn to communicate with our teachers too. 3. Write down your thoughts. In hopes for a clearer communication and easier access to the flow of ideas, it is better to write down your thoughts, or if you are an outspoken person, record yourself and the things you'd like to remember to prepare for a conversation. Fourth, start by speaking with someone you trust. Start expressing your thoughts to someone who keeps their words. It could be an administrator, teacher, counselor, or a parent in your situation. Fifth, ask as many questions as you need to. Be curious about those little things like asking how hard is it for a kid to understand math, why is it take so long to read, etc. Sixth, don't be afraid to show emotion, but be respectful. To be emotional in front of others because you are concerned about your child is fine, and a great presentation on how compassionate you are of your child to achieve their dream is incomparable. However, avoid being a narcissist that only hears themselves. Respect other spaces too. Seventh, ask about extra help for your child. Realizing your kid is falling behind may sound frustrating, but stay grounded, and ask what to do to lift them up again. 8. Keep speaking up. Advocating is not a good one way ticket. It needs consistency, so keep voicing out. As a parent, you have to be knowledgeable enough about the plans. The following slides will tell the difference between individualized education programs and 504 plans. IEP is a blueprint for a child's special education experience at school, and 504 plan is a blueprint on how the school provides support and removes barriers for students with a disability. So, what do these things do? IEP provides ISE and related services to meet their unique needs. And 504 plan is to provide services and changes to the environment along with their peers. The Individuals with Disability Education Act supports the IEP program, while the 504 plan is supported by the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, which is a federal civil rights law to stop discrimination against people with disabilities. So who's eligible under these programs? For IEP, the child has one or more of the 13 disabilities discussed earlier by Yumage. The disability must affect the child's educational performance to learn and benefit. For 504 plan, the individual has any disability, as it covers diverse struggles within the school setting. Section 504 has a broader definition of disability than what the idea does, which is the reason why if a child does not qualify for an IPE program, will still be able to get a 504 plan. In terms of independent educational evaluation, in IEP, families can ask the school district to pay an IEE by an outside expert. They can pay for an outside evaluation themselves, but the school may never give it much attention. On the other side, 504 plan does not allow families to ask for an IEE. To the question who creates it, IEP is created with the presence of a child's parent or guardian, at least one of the child's general education teachers, at least one special education teacher, school psychologist, and a district representative with an authority over special education services. Meanwhile, 504 plan requires people who are familiar to the child, like the parents, general education and special education teachers, and the school principal. IEP sets learning goals and describes services the school will provide. It is a written document that enlists important things that IPE must include, like the child's present levels of performance in both academic and function, annual education goals, services they will get, timing of services, any accommodations, modifications, how the child will participate in standardized tests, and even how the child will be included in general education classes and school activities. Unlike the former, the 504 plan does not have to be written. It includes the specific accommodations, supports, or services for the child, names of the person responsible for ensuring the plan is well implemented. Should there be any changes, the school has to tell families in before the change on their IEP program. It is called the prior written notice. It is also a requirement in any meetings and evaluation. It is the same thing in 504 plan, but it doesn't have to be written. The IEP should be reviewed at least once a year, and the child must be re-evaluated every 3 years to determine if it still needs services. Under 504 plan, rules may vary, but generally it is reviewed each year, and the same number of years about re-evaluating the child is the same as the IEPs. About the funding, students may receive the services at no charge, and state receives additional funding for students with IEPs. In a 504 plan, it is still the same. However, the state do not receive extra funding, and the students with for the students with 504 plans. However, the federal government can take the funding away from programs that don't meet their duties to serve kids with disabilities. Also, IDEA funds cannot be used to serve students with 504 plans. That will be all. Thank you very much and have a good day.